Have you ever asked God for direction and felt like you were walking in the dark? You prayed for clarity. You asked God to show you the plan. You begged Him to reveal what comes next. But instead of answers, you were given silence. No clear path, no detailed map, just another step forward into the unknown. And somewhere inside your heart, a question quietly began to grow. God, why won't you show me what's coming? If you've ever felt this way, you're not alone. Many people believe that if God truly had a plan for their life, He would show them everything ahead of time. Every opportunity, every door, every challenge. But what if the reason God isn't showing you the whole plan is actually part of the plan itself? Because the truth is, if God revealed every step of your future today, most people would be overwhelmed before they ever began the journey. Think about it. If you could see every obstacle waiting ahead, every moment of doubt, every season of struggle, would you still have the courage to take the first step? Or would fear stop you before your purpose even began? Sometimes God hides the road ahead, not to confuse you, but to grow your faith. Because faith was never meant to be about knowing everything. Faith is about trusting even when you can't see. Step by step, day by day, moment by moment. And throughout history, some of the greatest journeys began with nothing more than a single step into uncertainty. No full plan, no guarantee of comfort, just trust. So if you feel like God hasn't shown you the whole picture yet, that might not mean you're lost. It might mean you're exactly where faith begins. And what you're about to discover today may completely change the way you see the uncertainty in your life. Because sometimes, the reason God hides the next step is because He's teaching you how to walk by faith. One of the hardest things for people to accept is this: God rarely reveals the entire plan. Most of us want clarity before we move. We want assurance before we step forward. We want to know exactly where the road leads before we begin the journey. But that's not how faith works. Faith was never designed to function with full visibility. If everything about your future were already clear, then faith wouldn't be necessary. It would simply be certainty. And certainty does not grow the human spirit the way faith does. Think about the moments in life when your trust in God grew the most. It probably wasn't during seasons when everything was predictable and easy. It was during the seasons when you had no idea how things were going to work out, when doors seemed closed, when the future looked unclear, when you had to take steps forward without knowing where they would lead. Those are the moments where faith is formed. Because faith is not just believing that God exists. Faith is believing that God is guiding you even when you cannot see the direction. That kind of trust cannot be developed in comfort. It is only developed in uncertainty. There is something powerful that happens when a person chooses to trust God without knowing the full picture. Every step becomes an act of faith. Every decision becomes a declaration of trust. And every obstacle becomes an opportunity to see God move in ways you never expected. Many people spend years waiting for God to reveal the entire plan before they move. But the truth is, God usually reveals the next step only after you take the current one. Step, then clarity. Trust, then direction. Movement, then understanding. It's a pattern seen throughout countless spiritual journeys. Not because God enjoys keeping people in the dark, but because He knows something we often forget. If we could see the entire path ahead, we might rely more on the plan than on Him. And God is far more interested in building a relationship of trust than simply handing out instructions. Sometimes the hidden path is not a sign that God is absent. It is a sign that He is inviting you to trust Him more deeply than ever before. And the step you take in uncertainty today may be preparing you for a future you cannot yet imagine. There is another reason God often hides the full plan for your life. Sometimes it's because you are not ready for it yet. Not because you are incapable, not because you are weak, but because preparation always comes before purpose. Most people imagine that once God gives them a calling or a direction, everything will immediately make sense. They expect the path to become clear. They expect doors to open quickly. They expect confidence to appear overnight. But in reality, the journey usually begins with preparation that no one else can see. God does not just prepare the destination. He prepares the person who will walk toward it. Think about how often people ask God for something bigger in their lives. A greater purpose, a greater opportunity, a greater responsibility. But what many people don't realize is that bigger callings require stronger character, stronger patience, stronger faith, stronger endurance. And those qualities cannot be developed instantly. They are built slowly through seasons that feel confusing, uncertain, and sometimes even frustrating. There are moments when you might feel like your life has paused, like nothing significant is happening, like you are waiting without direction. But what feels like delay on the outside may actually be preparation on the inside, because God often works in ways that are invisible at first. He shapes your character through challenges. He strengthens your patience through waiting. He deepens your faith through uncertainty. And slowly, step by step, you become the kind of person who can handle what is ahead. Imagine if God showed you today the full weight of what He plans to do in your future. The responsibilities, the sacrifices, the challenges, the moments where your faith will be tested more than ever before. Many people would feel overwhelmed before they even started. That is why God often reveals the future gradually, not all at once, just enough light for the next step. Because when the time is right, the things that once felt impossible will begin to feel manageable. The things that once felt terrifying will begin to feel purposeful. And the person you are becoming right now will be strong enough to walk into the future that once seemed too big to imagine. So if God hasn't shown you the full plan yet, it might not be because you are lost. It might be because He is still shaping you into the person who can carry it. And what feels like waiting today may actually be the most important part of the journey. There is another reason God does not reveal the entire plan for your life. Sometimes, it's because if you saw everything ahead of time, you might never begin. Human nature wants comfort. We want assurance that things will work out. We want to know that the road ahead will be smooth, predictable, and safe. But the reality of any meaningful journey is that it rarely looks that way. Every life filled with purpose contains seasons of struggle, moments of uncertainty, moments where everything feels like it could fall apart. And if people could see every difficulty waiting for them in the future, many would turn back before they ever took the first step. Imagine seeing every obstacle in your life all at once. Every rejection, every delay, every disappointment, every moment where your strength would be tested. That picture alone would make many people feel overwhelmed. But God understands something about the human heart. He knows that courage often grows gradually, step by step, experience by experience, challenge by challenge. So instead of revealing the entire mountain you must climb, God often shows you only the next step on the path. Just enough to move forward, just enough to trust, just enough to keep going. And as you walk that path, something remarkable begins to happen. The person you are becoming grows stronger with every step. Your faith deepens. Your resilience grows. Your perspective begins to change. What once seemed frightening becomes manageable. What once seemed impossible becomes achievable. And when you finally reach places in life that once looked terrifying, you realize something powerful. You are no longer the same person who started the journey. You are stronger now, wiser now, more prepared now. Sometimes people look back at their lives and realize that if they had known everything ahead of time, they might have chosen a different path. But they also realize something else. The hidden path forced them to grow. It forced them to trust. It forced them to keep moving even when the future was unclear. And in the end, that uncertain path became the very thing that shaped who they were meant to become. So if God is only showing you one step at a time right now, it might not be because the rest of the path doesn't exist. It might be because He knows that revealing it all at once would be too heavy for your heart to carry. And sometimes the greatest journeys begin not with full understanding, but with the courage to take one small step forward into the unknown. At some point in life, everyone faces a moment where the future feels uncertain, a moment where the road ahead is hidden, a moment where you wish you could see just a little further, just enough to know that everything will be okay. In those moments, it is easy to believe that the silence means something is wrong, that maybe you made the wrong decision, that maybe you are walking in the wrong direction. But uncertainty does not always mean you are lost. Sometimes it means you are exactly where faith begins. Because faith was never meant to grow in perfect visibility. Faith grows in the spaces where you choose to trust even when you cannot see the outcome. And the truth is, no one is given the entire blueprint of their life. No one sees the whole path from beginning to end. Instead, life unfolds one step at a time, one decision at a time, one moment of trust at a time. And often, the most meaningful journeys begin with nothing more than a single step forward. A step taken without full understanding. A step taken despite the unknown. A step taken simply because deep down, you believe that God is still guiding you. There may be seasons where the direction feels unclear, seasons where progress feels slow, seasons where it seems like everyone else knows where they are going except you. But even in those moments, something important is happening. You are learning to trust. You are learning to grow. You are learning to move forward without needing every answer. And that kind of trust is powerful, because one day, when you look back on the path you walked, you may realize something surprising. The moments when you couldn't see the whole plan were the moments that shaped your faith the most. They were the moments that strengthened your character, the moments that prepared you for opportunities you couldn't have imagined at the beginning. So if you feel like God hasn't revealed the entire path for your life yet, don't assume that something is missing. It may simply mean that your journey is unfolding exactly the way it is meant to, one step at a time, one moment of trust at a time. And sometimes, the greatest act of faith is not understanding the whole plan, but trusting the step that is right in front of you.